Okay, so today we've got a big family we're gonna go over. So we're gonna get right to it as fast as we can, just because I want to make sure there's plenty of time for questions and observations and whatnot. Are you all ready? I
Yeah.
think we can do this. I'm totally convinced we can do this. So here we go. Some of you might have already guessed which family I'm talking about, but here we are. I will share my screen. Here we go. And let us begin. Everybody, welcome back
Huge
to
bathroom.
Plant Families in Our Foods, week number 5. I know that I missed last week. Sorry about that. But I'm happy to be back again with you all. So week 5, Plant Families in Our Foods. And we will get right away started with our 3 flowers that we draw, or maybe in this case, more than 3, but you'll understand what I mean in a second. I will give you 2 minutes to draw what is on our screen here. And then after that, an extra minute to add words and numbers to our pictures, beginning now.
And if I could just ask people who aren't speaking to mute themselves, I can't seem to mute people right now. So if you could mute if you're not the speaker, thank you. Eve, I'm not sure whether you made me co-host.
Oh, thank you. I thought oh goodness, you're right.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for reminding me. Your co-host now, yeah? Cool.
Yes, thanks.
Oh, shoot, sorry. Can I go back? I want to go back. My apologies. And I know that this is might look very complicated flower. You don't have to worry about getting it perfect. Just relax and enjoy. Not about perfection. That was our 2 minutes. I'm going to give us an extra minute on the drawing in case people want, just because I know that this is a little bit more difficult than normal. I will give us an extra minute and then a minute to add words and numbers to our pictures. Take another couple seconds to draw. And now let's take a minute to add any words, questions, observations, and numbers to our picture. All right, let us go on to our second flowers. Once again, we'll take 2 minutes to draw. Let's take another few seconds. All right, that's our 2 minutes on that. So now let's take 1 more minute to add any words or numbers to our picture. Thank you. Take another few seconds, please. And there's our minute. Now our third one. Once again, let's take 2 minutes to draw. Please take another couple seconds. There's our 2 minutes. And let's take 1 more minute to add any words and numbers to our picture. Let's take another few seconds. And there's our minute. All right. How was that? Everyone doing all right? Yeah? Okay, good. Are you all ready to meet our family for today? I think a lot of you might already know what we're going to look at. Welcome to the sunflower family. Dun, 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 the big one. Also known in our scientific terms as Asteraceae. And a good way to remember that is to think, as it says here, to think aster like star or astronaut, astrology, that kind of thing. So Asteraceae, and it's named after the aster genus. I believe that this might be a member of that genus as well. Either that or very closely related, but we have them growing in the Presidio in different places. So they're around. I'm not going to say for certain that this is an aster genus one though, because Asteraceae, the sunflower family, is one of the 2 biggest families of all of the plants. We don't know whether it's the biggest or the second biggest because currently this family, sunflower family, is duking it out with the orchid family. They're currently like arm wrestling in the woods somewhere over who's bigger. So we don't know. It could be the biggest, it could be the second biggest. And it's really, as you can imagine, hard to identify, but luckily that's not what we're about today. Today, we're just looking inside of the flower of flowers. And you'll understand what I mean in a second. The old name for this family is Compositae because of the composite flowers. So you can put this into the chat. How many flowers do you think might be in this one little plant here? If you want to guess, you can put it into the chat and I'll look at them afterwards.
Can you see the chat, Yvette?
I can.
Okay, good.
I see we're guessing 1,000, 300, 300s, 150. I'm loving all of these guesses. I can tell you right offhand that I don't actually know how many, but I can say safely that it's at least dozens of them. So this is not one flower. This is many. And that's maybe the most exciting part about this. That's why this was previously called the Compositae. So our basic flower, we have our stem, we have our sepal here, which is the little green part that we're used to seeing. We have a petal, the pretty part. We have our stamens here that make the pollen, and our pistils here that make the seeds. And so my way of remembering that is PSSP. The pistils make the seeds, the stamens make the pollen. Or some people call this the male part and the female part, but I prefer to look just more at their function. So I prefer to look beyond the gender. But this is our family of today. A little bit different. Instead of it being one flower, this is a flower, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this Even the petals that we think of as being sunflower petals, each of those is actually an individual flower. Not a petal at all, just a flower itself. So that's why they're called composite flowers, is because they all share this one receptacle here. That's how you can tell that it is from this family, is if it's all on different stems, no. But because they're all here under this one receptacle here, and this is the main stem here, that's how you know that it's a member of this family. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool. So this is a lot of information. So we'll even though it's written down a lot, we'll take it kind of slow. Some key characteristics of our family, as we talked about, are that they're composite flowers. So there are dozens of smaller flowers inside of a single inflorescence. Our smaller flowers all share one receptacle and one main stem. And that's how you know that this is a member of that family. And as you can see in our picture here, oftentimes they become small seeds, each one with its own parachute. You might think dandelion fluff, and this is indeed a dandelion. So a lot of members will have seeds similar to this, not precisely the same, but you can oftentimes see a lot of fluff within it. It's not the only family that has the fluff, but it's just very characteristic of this family. So if you see this, you might consider, is this an Asteraceae? And it's already mentioned, we have two types of flowers that are within a composite flower. One of them is called the disc flower. So if you picture a sunflower, you have the main head like this, and then you have all of the so-called petals coming out. This would be the disc flower. It's the part that seems to be on the main head, or the inner flowers of the sunflower, or any other member of this family. Then you have the ray flowers, and those are the ones that stick out, the ones that we think of as being petals. And you can remember that because they look like the rays of the sun shining out. So we have that. We have our disc flowers and our ray flowers. And as mentioned, it's not just one flower, it's tons of smaller flowers all looking like one big flower. And I add this note to mention because I considered making some kind of a chart that shows some of the subfamilies and tribes, but there's just too many. So an important thing to remember with this family is that not every member of this family are going to have both the disc flowers and the ray flowers. Some will have them both, but some might be made up entirely of disc flowers, or others might be made up entirely of ray flowers. So it's important to look and see with each flower that you have what kind it is, and just enjoy the mysteries behind this family. Because it's one of the biggest families in the world, you'll never run out of new Asteraceae to enjoy and explore. And that makes it kind of awesome, in my opinion.
Vea, I see a question, which is, what is an inflorescence?
Oh, thank you. I'm so sorry. Inflorescence, okay, that's usually used as another word for flower, but it can also mean when there's a whole bunch of flowers all together. So it can mean either flower or flowers, basically. So that's what an inflorescence is. It's just the part with the flowers. I'm glad you asked that question. I tried to limit the vocabulary in this particular lesson because you could go down the rabbit hole on vocabulary, but I think that vocabulary makes things overly complicated and kind of frustrating for a lot of us. So, because like then you get all nitpicky about, oh, involucres or whatever the other thing is, there's just too many words, too many. So anytime you see a word that you need more elaboration on, please ask. All right, we'll go to our diagram, our anatomy of our flower part 2. And I included this because I wanted to better explain what the ray flowers and the disc flowers might be like. So this might be one of the outer petals or so-called outer petals, I should say, on one of our flowers. But in reality, you can see it's its own flower. Got a little pistil sticking out right here. Sometimes it might have these hairs coming up, and those are sort of modified sepals in a way, although I don't know that there's any specific number of these hairs. The ones that come out from the side, I'm not so sure that they're called sepals, it's just hairy. So a lot of them, you'll find a lot of members of this family are quite hairy. I don't know whether this seed is viable or not, but this to me looked just like a seed when I opened up the flower. And then This is the corolla, or the flower, I should say, the petals. This is the petals of the, so it is, I guess you could say that the one huge looking petal is a petal, but not of the whole thing, just of one flower, one small little flower with a big old petal. Not all of the members, but you'll notice some of the members will have this kind of jagged edge to the petal, kind of the strappy look to it. So that can be another thing. And sometimes they'll be sort of, they'll have these grooves or lines in the petal, kind of linear ones. And so that can be a good way to think of this particular family as well. And it's just a reminder that this is the part that's right over here. Then we have our disc flowers. And so we might have, this is the ovary, and this might be the part that becomes the seed on the, and then these hairs might grow bigger. And then that might be, you know, what you see later on as the fluff. This right here is our tubular corolla. We talked a bit about tubular corollas back with the Lamiaceae family, or the mint family. And so again, these all united into a tube. And I think that there are 5 lobes to this tube. So 5 united petals would be. And then this part's really cool. Within, almost like when the movie Alien, where you have the creature with the one big mouth and then you have the smaller mouth poking out. The smaller mouth in here is not more petals. These are united stamens. So, and then here we have the pistil. This particular one had a ball shape, but some of them will have these 2 parts to it kind of opening up. The stigma is 2-lobed and it kind of just opens up. But what's fun about this is that we have our pistil in here, and then the stamens are united, so they kind of wrap around the pistil like a fruit roll up. You know how the fruit roll ups come all wrapped up? Well, sort of picture that if you were to unwrap this, then you would have 5 little stamens, but instead they're all kind of bound together and wrapped up like a fruit roll up. So that's kind of fun. I haven't managed to successfully look at one because these are so tiny, so tiny that it's really, really hard to see. It's even hard to get one of them so that you can look at, never mind getting inside. So this is our anatomy part 2. And to see what this looks like on an actual flower, you can see it here too. We've got our little seed looking bit that connects to our ray flower, one of these. And so all of these are individual flowers. And you can see the kind of strappy bit up at the top and the jagged edge. And then in here, we can see the shining bits down, like from about, I would say here down would be the ovary. And then up here are the individual little flowers of the disc flowers. So yeah, we have our ray flower, and our, pardon me, and our disc flower. And for a bit closer of an example, here's the ray flower. And you can see right here is our stigma. It's very hard to see, very subtle. And this one might open up so that it looks 2-part, or it might not. We're not really sure. Some of them do and some don't. And we have our little hairs in here too. And then we have our disc flower. And I included this one and this one because with this one, I got a clear picture, but then I realized that part of it had fallen off. So this was supposed to have an ovary down here, but it got ripped off before I could take the picture. So this one has a bit more of the ovary. Very difficult flowers to dissect. And so then we have, you can see it better on here. We have our petals here, our tubular corolla. And a corolla is another word for the petal part, but a lot of times we'll use the word corolla if they're all like fused together. So we have our petals here all fused up. And then you can just barely see the jagged edge of the united stamens right in here. So big mouth, little mouth, and then I guess that would be the tongue of the alien from Alien. And so that right there is the pistil. This one looks like it's been pollinated. It's got pollen all over the pistil, so yay. It's beautiful in here. It's like an entire other world. And you can see that they all share the same receptacle here. the same big green part. And sometimes the receptacle will have bracts. See, a lot of people would think that these are sepals. They're not. These are bracts, which is another vocab word, but the point is that they're not sepals. They're something that surrounds the entire group of flowers. This one only seems to have one row of sepals, I'm sorry, of bracts, but some will have lots of bracts, like the sunflower. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you which these other flowers were. So this one here is a sunflower, one of the typical ones that we can think of. This kind of greenish bit back here, those are all the bracts. This one here, does anybody know this one?
Is that an
Yes.
artichoke?
Oh,
Artichoke?
It is, it's an artichoke, a flowering artichoke.
I have
Or
one
possibly a
growing in my
cardoon, but I'm
yard.
pretty sure it's an artichoke.
I was just starting to write this in the chat, but with that last photo you had of this dissected flower, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
mentioned the that part, that they're all sitting on the bract.
Oh yeah, the bract.
I suddenly saw the artichoke heart, and I knew that was an artichoke, and I did not see its connection with sunflower until this moment.
Cool.
That I saw the artichoke heart in that. I was like, oh, they're all attached to that, just like you pull off all the petals of the artichoke and eat the heart.
Oh, you know what's fun about that? You know how you pull off the bits of the artichoke and eat that bit? What bit is that though that we're eating? Do you know?
The thick fleshy part?
The thick green fleshy part?
I love artichokes.
Is that the ovaries? No.
Those are bracts.
The bract.
Oh, the bracts.
We're eating the bract of the artichoke.
Okay, so the center of the artichoke that comes out, that it turns into like a thistle?
It is,
Yeah.
this is part of that subfamily. It is part of the
Okay,
thistle
that's-
subfamily.
Okay, because
That is an awesome connection.
Okay, okay,
Awesome
good.
connection to make because yeah, that this is related to the thistle. So it's good to begin to put these together. That's an example right there of how some Asteraceae will look different than others. So even though this looks quite a bit different than a sunflower, the common thing is that it still has all of these little flowers on the same on the same receptacle, but it's part of the thistle subfamily. So the thistles and the artichokes and the cardoons look more like this.
Are those purple things disc flowers?
I believe they are. I think that they are. I don't think that they're ray flowers, but I'm not totally sure. But they are all, I think they all are disc flowers. I haven't gotten to look up close, unfortunately, but it'd be nice to. And I've seen the cardoons become the little parachutes. So that's pretty fun. And then this one is some kind of an ornamental. And I'm not totally sure what kind of an ornamental it is, I'm sorry to say. But to me, this looks an awful lot like it's comprised of, like, as far as I can tell, entirely of ray flowers. That's what it looks like to me. Ray flowers, ray flowers.
Looks like a chrysanthemum.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking.
Might be. There's so many kinds. That's why I'm hesitant to say. But
Are
it might be.
chrysanthemums part of this group?
They are chrysanthemums, dahlias.
Oh,
Yep.
okay,
They look
because
like
the
they might be
leaf,
dahlias.
I was gonna say the leaf in the back that you see reminded me of the chrysanthemum leaf.
Yep,
Okay.
that is absolutely right. But I know that there's also a lot of ornamentals as well, so that's why it's so hard to know. But if it looks like one, then that's a good, it reminds me of, because they are in fact related.
Okay, so what's, besides the sunflower and the artichoke, what's
Mhm.
edible about a dahlia or the chrysanthemums?
Those ones,
That was going to be my question. It's like, besides sunflower seeds and artichokes, for
So there
such a
are-
big family, there should be a lot of food, huh?
there's not as many. In fact, that's our next question. What in this family do we like to eat? So we got artichoke. There's that. Does anybody know any others?
Sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds, yep. There's one that's going to make Celia very, very happy in a second. Yeah, chrysanthemum tea. Are y'all ready to see? Yeah? Okay, here's what we eat in this family. Lettuce
Oh, the lettuce.
is a sunflower. If
already
you
wow,
ever see
I
lettuce,
already forgot.
if you ever see lettuce bolt, or
But
if you
yeah,
ever,
but my lettuce flowers don't look like sunflowers.
you have to see them open up. once they open up, then you can look inside and see all of the littler flowers within it. Although it's part of the chicory subfamily. And so those ones, I'm not sure whether they're all ray flowers or all disc flowers. I can't remember because it's hard to remember the patterns, but they might be all of one kind. So that might be part of it, is that the sunflower, the reason why it looks the way it does is because it has both the ray flowers and the disc flowers, but some of them don't, like we were talking about. So that's why it might look a bit different. But when you see lettuce go to seed, then you'll begin to see the parachutes and the fluff coming out of it. So lettuce is indeed a sunflower, as is chicory, as we talked about sunflower seeds. We have our chamomile tea and our echinacea, the coneflowers. We have artichokes. I didn't put cardoons in here because they're kind of bitter, but I know some people like them. Stevia, that sweetener that we like so much, tarragon. And then I know that some people like thistle milk too. So these are some of the ones that we eat.
The lettuce root, I'm not surprised that it's in there because the root looks a lot like the chicory root.
That makes sense. Yeah, and lettuce and chicory are both in the same subfamily. A lot of members of that particular subfamily will have kind of milky looking sap in them. I think that's sort of why lettuce got its Latin name, lactuca. It has to do with the milk. Although that doesn't necessarily mean that every plant that has the milky sap is good to eat. Some of them are poisonous. Although I think that the chicory subfamily is pretty safe, but you might want to double check first. No matter what we say, just don't go eating the plants randomly. There's a lot of poisonous ones out there. Okay, I think that the next one is spot the Asteraceae, but I'm not sure. Let's see, is it? Oh, it is. Okay. Before we begin, did anybody have any more questions before we go on to spot the Asteraceae? No? Are you all ready?
I have a question, Avia. Would
Mhm.
dandelion fit with this group?
Yes, definitely dandelion. And I know dandelion greens are edible, so I don't know why I didn't put that there. But yes to dandelion,
Okay.
definitely. In fact,
All right,
I think that this one right here was a dandelion.
I drink dandelion root tea.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them have some really strong health properties in them. The other thing is that I've noticed, and I'm not going to say this is for every plant, but I've noticed that a lot of the members of this family that I see out in the wild, sometimes they grow on soil that's not that great, but I know that they also collect a lot of really interesting nutrients from that soil. So they have some very unusual ways of, like, the places that they grow and what they make out of their environments is, I wanted to learn more. That's a question that I could definitely stand a nature journal more about. Just something for everybody else to watch out for too. So, are you all ready to play? All right, let's do this. All right. And then let's give our wonderful co-host, thank you, Anne Chadwick. Let's give her some applause too, because she's the one who sets the polls and keeps everything smooth. So thank you, Anne. And let's begin.
And if you don't know, you can move that box around where the poll is if it's blocking your view. It's just another window.
And also, don't worry about however you guess. This is just for fun. And this is just so that we get used to looking inside the family, inside of the plants, I should say. You don't have to memorize things. And if it's difficult to know which one is the one, that's okay. I definitely didn't get it right on my first try. It took me years to learn these families. So don't stress, okay?
Via Novest before are nettles in the Asteraceae family?
You mean like stinging nettle?
Yeah.
Different family. That one is in the Urticaceae family. And you can remember that because it hurts. Okay, that's a bad botany joke. Okay, I think I'm going to give folks about 5 more seconds. And then we will reveal our answer. Let's see here. And okay, here we go. Sorry. Let me just. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Yeah. It was the middle one. This is yarrow. And I know that's probably a bit challenging to tell because this one looks like it's a ton of flowers clustered together. But if you look sort of through it, you can see that there are little individual stems coming down through the flowers. It might be really hard to see though. But these ones, if you look deep inside of it, you can see that there's a little flower there. Oh, dang it. There's a little flower here and here and here and here. You can see all sorts of little flowers all clustered very close together. And then each of these petals would be its own as well. Can you all see the little flowers inside?
My yarrow doesn't look like that.
Oh. There might be other kinds of yarrow too. This is one that I see a lot by Chrissy Field. But you can see all of the little ones. Okay, ready for round 2? Oh yeah, also, does anybody know this flower? Did I hear somebody say jasmine?
Mhm.
Yep, this is to honor our friend Jasmine who's here. So hooray for Jasmine.
Thank you, Ivea.
I love to suck the honey out of jasmines.
Yes, and it has the most amazing smell. So thank you to our friend Jasmine. And here is our round 2. Okay, I'll give folks about 10 more seconds to guess. And again, don't worry however you guess. This is all just learning. All right, here we go. Ready for the answer? It is straw flower, our third one. At least I think this is a straw flower. Again, not totally sure because this is, after all, Asteraceae. This one might be a bit difficult to tell because at first it kind of begins with a lot of petals. And there are other families, as you can see, for example, this one that have tons of petals. But then if you start to look at some of the others, then you can see inside the ring of smaller flowers. So these are all really their own flowers as well. Yeah, you can see that. So this is, I'm pretty sure it's a straw flower. This one, sorry about that, I tricked people, but you can see in the middle that it has all of these, I believe these are our styles, lots of styles in the middle. And that might be one clue that it's not an inflorescence of a ton of other ones, is because it wouldn't have a main set of styles, that each one would have individual styles. This one is an ice plant. One of my, well, I do happen to have a lot of love for this one. It's one of my arch nemesis, though, out in the Presidio. Latin name is Carpobrotus edulis, which means edible fruit, because I guess they had to say it twice. I think they taste okay. And then this one over here is a poppy.
That's why it's also called the Hottentot fig, because it has that little fruit.
I've heard that too, although you might not have known this because I only found this out recently, but I've heard that name is no longer a name we use.
Yeah, it's derogatory to Black South Africans.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I only found that out recently myself. I just wanted to mention it to people so that they know. But yeah, that is probably why it had the word fig in it, is because edible. So
because of the edible fruit to it. But yeah, Hottentot was a term white South Africans called natives.
that's good to note. So, and then like
I said, looks like Leslie had a question, which was, are honeysuckles related to jasmine?
I don't know. I feel like they are, but I don't know. So that's a very good question. And now I'm going to look that up too. I feel like they should be though. So I will look that up. All right, y'all ready for round 3? Here we go.
Getting harder.
It is, and I apologize in advance for this particular one.
Can you make the picture bigger? Like zoom in, like on the third one?
Let me, yeah, give me a second. Let me just, how do I quit this? I wish I knew how to,
I don't
Sorry.
know if it's possible, but.
I feel
You
like they're
can do it. You can do it from your own screen if you go up to view options.
especially because I just accidentally gave away the answer. But yeah, I wish that I could make it bigger, but I can't quite make
Okay.
it bigger.
Thanks.
But I still apologize because this one is just, yeah, it's mean. But I partially do this because
Gosh.
the one that's probably the most confusing for people is a family that we're going to be doing soon. So I'm going to introduce it now so people are aware. Okay, take another 10 seconds. Okay, and here we go. Our answer is our middle one. And again, I really apologize for that.
That's right.
I know that's kind of mean
I
of
have
me.
no clue what I was guessing at, though.
This one is really hard to see because the flowers appear to be all bunched up, but you can see lots of little pistils sticking out of it. So eventually, as these coyote brush flowers open up, they will create this lovely fuzz that will fly everywhere, and it will look like summertime snow. This one over here, if I'm not mistaken, is a milkweed. So this one is one of the ones that our butterflies desperately need. And this one over here, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's a carrot flower. And so that might be a bit harder to tell because it looks like there's a tons of flowers. Like it looks as though they should all be on one receptacle because you see one big main stem coming off of each of the littler clusters. But if you look closer, you can also see that some of them have little stems where their flowers come off of that as well. And that's going to become very significant later when we go through this family. This family is called the Umbelliferae, and it goes by another name too. And it's because it has umbels of umbels. So that's why I include this family, is because it's easy to get mixed up with our Asteraceae. But we'll talk about that more next time. All right, ready for round 4? Yeah? Okay. Round number 4. Okay, we'll take another 10 seconds. Okay. Are you ready? Here we go. It was C. C for Cape Ivy. Now, I know that this one probably looked like one. It has the lovely long kind of golden petals, or what we think of as like being the individual flowers. But then it also has these long, it looks like stamens to me coming out of them, all from the center in the same one. Instead of it being parts of these little flowers inside, it all is from this one big one. And it's hard to see at this angle, but in the center here, we have carpels sticking up. Carpels being another word for the pistils, but the pistils in kind of this weird little shape, I guess you could say. So this one, I can see why this one would be confusing. This one here in the middle is one of my all-time favorite plants. It's the first ever native plant that I fell in love with, yellow sand verbena. And it grows out in the dunes all over the beach. So this one is from a different family, the 4 o'clock family. This one right here is our Asteraceae, and as many of you have heard me rant about, it's my ultimate arch nemesis, the Cape ivy. And this here is the reason why I don't totally hate the plant, because these are really cute and they smell nice, like honey, even though the rest of the plant does not smell so nice. So you can see here, we have our petals that are all united, or you can see from the side here, our united petals. We have our stamens sticking up that are all wrapped around the main pistil like a fruit roll-up. And then we have our 2-part pistils sticking out. And then we have them all over this one little head. So you can see all of the little flowers stuck onto the one bigger receptacle here. So this here is our Asteraceae.
Wow. I thought that was an ice plant.
Just
So-
point of clarification. So it's on one head, it's not on one stem. That you can have multiple heads, because that appears like there's multiple, I mean, only one stem for multiple heads.
Yeah, so we have one, like for example, we have our one stem here, and then we have a ton of flowers here. But if you're thinking about all of the flowers, then sometimes they can branch off into smaller ones. But the
Okay,
key here is that we've got one big stem here with all of the littler flowers on it.
okay.
And
Thank you.
each of these doesn't have its own stem.
Okay.
They're all attached directly to the inflorescence.
So do they open up, those little yellow flowers?
Yeah, they do. There are some open ones right here. And so they will open up in time. And again, I know that this is a really difficult family, which is why I've added an extra round. And also I want to encourage people again to go easy on yourselves with this family. This is one of the hardest families. The only reason why I didn't save this till the end is because this had the more accessible members I could take pictures of and dissect than the last 2 we're gonna look at. Or possibly 3. I've decided maybe I might add 1 more family to the end. Some very awesome friends encouraged me, so I might be adding 1 more. And we might just have a final session just for funsies, as per Amy's side suggestion. So, okay, ready for round number 5? Last round, just because this is a difficult family. And here's our final round. Remember, there's no worries. Just have fun with it. I'll give folks 10 more seconds. All right, are you ready for the answer? Here we go. Our last one, our marigold. And I see a lot of you got that this is our marigold. And if you didn't, don't worry. So I think, well, first of all, maybe instead I'll ask you all to tell me, what told you that this was our Asteraceae?
So clusters in the center.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then I looked on the bud up in the back and could see the different, yeah, petals coming out and flowers coming out of the one.
Yep. Yep. All of these together on just the one stem.
It reminded me of the first one that we sketched. And that was just
Yeah.
the one that you said was an ornamental.
Yep.
Yeah, I was similar. It just to me looked sunflower-ish,
Yep.
and the others didn't. To me, but
I thought about how like when it dries out and I'm collecting some of the seeds, each seed has like its own individual like dried up like part on the top.
I don't know if this one makes the parachutes the way others do, but yeah, each little seed inside of it has that kind of elongate thing going, all of them together. And again, sometimes it can be really hard to think of exactly why one is or isn't, although all of your observations were absolutely right. But after a while, the more you look at members of each family, the more you start to get a feeling like, why does this feel like Asteraceae? And over time, it will get easier. It takes a long time. I'm sure even I mess up and don't always get the right one, and that's fine. So go easy on yourselves. And thank you. This was fun.
so
So,
marigold's supposed to attract beneficial insects.
oh, sorry, I couldn't hear.
Oh, the marigold is supposed to attract beneficial insects, which is why farmers often grow it, although it's not edible.
Yeah, that's true. I was taught to grow it near the tomatoes in the summertime.
They're good to keep away bugs.
Yep. Companion planting. That is a fun topic. So it's a very beneficial plant. So to recap, we have our two kinds of flowers, our ray flowers over here and our disc flowers over here. Although again, different species might or might not have either of these. Some might have both, some might only have one type, and some might only have the other. So depends on the flower you got. Each of the flower heads has dozens of individual flowers on this one big old receptacle here. And that is what will tell you that it's Asteraceae, no matter what form it takes. We have our one main stem, and not always, but a lot of the time we have our small seeds with individual parachutes. And that is our Asteraceae. And sadly, we're almost at time. We have only like 4 minutes left. But thank you for joining me. And we can use the time that's left for anybody to ask questions or share. And I can hang around a little bit late too, but thank you. And congratulations. You all have braved what is officially so far probably our most difficult family. So woohoo!
Yeah, this one was really tough. I'm gonna